Now, Rashford revealed he'd been abused online after the game when he tweeted this: "Humanity and social media at its worst. Yes, I'm a black man and I live every day proud that I am. No one comment is going to make me feel any different. So sorry if you were looking for a strong reaction. You're just simply not going to get it here." Now, he went on to explain why he wouldn't share the screenshots of the abuse, saying this: "It would be irresponsible to do so. And as you can imagine, there's nothing original in them. I have beautiful children of all colours following me, and they don't need to read it. Beautiful colours that should only be celebrated," he says. Now, look, I just want to start with this because we've spoken to Facebook this morning, who, of course, own Instagram, where these comments were made, and they have said this. They've responded to us this morning. They say there is no place for racism on Instagram. We are committed to removing it when we find it. We have taken action in this case by removing accounts and comments and are continuing to investigate, they say. We know there is more to do, and we will continue to work closely with clubs, players and football authorities to investigate instances of discrimination and collectively tackle this issue. So, Darren, I'm going to start with you. We're here again. However, this time we have PC Stuart Ward in place, who is the UK's first football hate crime police officer. And we're off the back of government ministers meeting with representatives from the game last Monday. Are we better equipped, do you feel, right now in this moment to deal with this sort of abuse?
I'm not optimistic at the moment, sadly, because it doesn't make it any worse because it's Marcus Rashford. You know, Romain Sawyers at West Brom had racist abuse. We have to recognise him. There are players at Liverpool who have profile players that have had racist abuse. For me, if I'm honest, it suits the social media companies to respond when it's somebody like Rashford who can influence government policy, who has a massive social media following, who is able to influence people who have only a passing interest in football. It suits the social media companies to respond to him. But what about all of the people who aren't Manchester United footballers, the people who aren't Premier League footballers, or the black people who aren't even in football, who complain to the social media companies? If they cared, Vicky, if they really did care, why do openly racist terms not breach their guidelines? Why can they still appear, if they do care, on the people's timelines after they've taken advantage of the mechanisms that are available for them to report racist abuse? I kind of get the impression, because I've seen Instagram and Twitter respond on a number of occasions when big media organisations like Sky, CNN, whatever else get in touch with them. I see them respond and say, abuse has no place in our society. We've got this mechanism, we've deactivated accounts. But the reality is I know a lot of people who beg them for help, who beg them for support, who show them screenshots of what they've been receiving, who tick all of the boxes in terms of reporting things in the right way, and they just don't get that support. So I'd like to think I'm optimistic, but on the other hand, I can see us being back here, and we've done this show, 4 or 5 months? I think we'll be back here before the end of the season. OK, so how do we make sure that we aren't back here?
No, but I agree with Darren. We will be back here, because when we started off, I think I was on for the first month of the start of the show, and we were talking about it. And it feels like every time I'm coming into Sky, I'm always talking about these sort of things happening. It's happening too much. Romain Sawyers, I'm glad the guy got arrested the other day. That's little baby steps to abuse Romain Sawyers. Reece James got abused. Twanzebe, the ball deflects off Twanzebe and goes into the net. There's nothing he can do about that, and he gets racially abused online. I do not get some these people that are doing it, and more needs to be done. People need to be accountable for this, because too much times it's happening too much, and I feel like the more we talk about it, the more they think it's all right to keep doing it. And that's why, I mean, you know what, a lot of people say, oh, why do you take the knee? Well, that is why we still taking the knee, so we never forget about it, and we have to keep educating people and keep doing it. But these people are not going to go away, Vicky. We can keep talking about it and keep talking about it to for years upon years, I still don't think these people are going to change. It's just the way they are. I think they get a buzz out of doing it, and they want a response. And I think Marcus Rashford, the way he acted yesterday, and that tweet was brilliantly. Don't give them no response. Don't air what they sent to you on social media. Don't air it, because that's what they want. They want it to be aired on social media.
But the fact we're doing the show this morning, that we're starting with this, do you think that is kind of giving them the kudos that they want, saying, well, sitting at home saying, well, that was me, I did.
Well, it's good to talk about it, though, isn't it? I always feel it's good to talk about it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I can see why Rashford didn't share it. I have 4 children. I'm very careful about what I put on social media. The language in some of these messages is unacceptable. What you don't want is for young children who follow Marcus Rashford to see that kind of thing. Having said that, sometimes it is important to see the uncomfortable nature, the brutal, ugly truth about what footballers are receiving. I interviewed Wilfred Zaha last year, and he showed me some of the stuff that he'd received, and he was saying to me that week alone he'd received 50 racist messages on social media, and he was saying that some black footballers, they're afraid to go into their direct messages on social media because of the abuse that they find. And just like I would imagine when you go to work, and sometimes you have to brace yourself for, in some organisations, sexist abuse. Black men, it's a reality at the moment that black men, when they go to work, they have to brace themselves for the kind of casual racism that trips off the tongue for some people. And that's why, for me, Sam Allardyce is right. It's getting to a stage where people need to consider legal action. It's possible to track down people. We saw Curtis Woodhouse do it. It's possible to track people down, and if you do, you make an example of them. There was a very high-profile case involving somebody in the judiciary who decided that he wanted to take a preemptive strike and pursue people who had defamed him on social media. He did that. He held people to account, and other people who had defamed him as well, he sent legal notices off to them. It's time to use the mechanism of the law, because just like within football, you know, the players beg for help from the authorities, and eventually they decide we're going to use our own commercial power, we're going to use our own social media platforms, we're going to do it ourselves because the authority is not helping us enough. Individuals can help themselves. Forget social media. Let's do it ourselves. Let's find these people ourselves and let's take action. I think that's the only way things are going to change.
But you shouldn't be judged by the colour of your skin. If you make a mistake on the football pitch, you shouldn't be judged. If I'm bad at my pundit work, which a lot of people will tell me that I am bad at it, don't judge me by the colour of my skin. Absolutely. If I'm a bad footballer, tell me I'm a bad footballer and tell me I'm a bad pundit. Don't tell me anything about my skin, because let me tell you something, it's not going away. There's going to be more young black footballers coming into it. So you can keep moaning and you can keep abusing, but we're still here and we're going to still be here, and there's going to be more pundits on the TV. So keep talking, because we'll keep sending that message that it's not right. So you people that keep doing it, you keep on doing it, and we'll keep sending that message that it's not right, and we'll keep talking about it, and we'll keep talking about it until something happens, because it is not right. It's the colour of my skin. I became a professional footballer because I was good enough, not because of the colour of my skin. So my colour of my skin, I don't deserve to be abused online, and it's something they need to do online. There's something needs to be done online. You need to find these culprits, and something needs to be dealt with, because, as Darren said, it ain't right. It's nowhere near right.
There's a key truth about this, and it's that it's risen since football has been played behind closed doors. And what it does, it kind of shines a light on the kind of attitudes that people have that we don't get to hear when there are 50,000 people in a football stadium. People cross the line when their teams don't do well, and they use that as an excuse to racially abuse black footballers. And if we were in any kind of delusion about where we are in the fight against racism, the past week has shown us, because that's now 5 black footballers who have had racist abuse. The clubs are doing well to support them, but you know, they're now moving forward, as I say, with this suggestion about legal action. It's not about coming out and saying there's no place for it in our game. I've been hearing that a lot of times in the 21 years I've been working for the Daily Mirror. It's about real solutions. It's about doing something different. You can only have so many working groups and panels and players meeting with government officials who want to make a name for themselves. It's about real action. And that's why I think footballers should take charge.
What do you think should be done then, Dan?
I think they should take legal action. I think they should use them. It's possible to track people down via their IP addresses. once you track them down, people should be held accountable for what's on their social media feeds.
Yes.
And if you have to take legal recourse to do it, do it. Unless you do that, it will continue to happen. We will continue to go round and round in circles. You know what also we need to do? If social media companies really cared, make people give details of who they are when they sign up. You have to be a certain age to go into social media anyway. If you are of a certain age, if I travel to another country, I have to show my passport. I have to give details of where.
Yeah.
If you want to go on social media, you should have to give some way of being able to identify you.
Yes, and I know the social media companies will say that for certain reasons people need anonymity, domestic violence, for the job they do, so on and so forth. But it is quite possible, isn't it, for us to all, if we have a social media, those that can, to have to put in their passport details. I know the FA are working to remove it. That's what they've said this week. That's their line, that they want to remove it, to eradicate it. Yesterday, the FA released this statement on their social media platforms. They say, "We are united with all of football in our abhorrence of any racist abuse. This is not acceptable in any part of society. We will continue to work with the rest of the game, the government, the social media platforms, to remove this and all elements of discrimination from our sport." So again, working towards... I always feel with this, it feels, we've talked about it with Troy Townsend so many times, and we always say, are we making progress? What are we working towards? It feels like we need action, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but today. What action, if we could do anything, would you want to see from all the authorities, Darren?
From all the authorities, listen, football has its own existential crisis with racism as it is, which is why footballers take the knee every week. So I think you've got to make a distinction between the two. I think in terms of social media companies, at a very basic level, and it seems ridiculous to be saying this, racist terms on social media need to be recognised as such. If someone posts a racist term on social media, why is it allowed to stay up 24, 48, 72 hours after it's been reported? Why is it allowed to stay up anyway?
Is that the reason?
It's not difficult to do. In our technological age, it cannot possibly be difficult to filter out racist terms from social media. It can't. If there are certain things, functions that if you wanted to perform them on social media, you couldn't do it. So why is it the case that racism is allowed? So at a very basic level, there are things, if the social media companies are serious about wanting to be committed in the fight against racism, do the basics. Support the people who are crying for help from you. I think that is different from the problems that football faces. We've done those on a number of weeks, so I don't need to go into those. But I think the social media companies, the statements that they put out, it is almost as if they are ready for organisations like Sky to come knocking. Because every time we do, they say the same things. They throw the numbers at us.
That is baby steps, but then the steps need to be bigger. They're too small. All the time we keep talking about the same thing. Oh, we're not going anywhere. These black footballers are not going anywhere. Black people in the media, they're not going anywhere. They're not coming off the social media. So you can keep talking and keep sending them messages.
Is that a solution?
They're not doing it.
Would that be a solution? Not that I think it's the right
What, to come off?
No. Yeah,
why?
For people to take their accounts away because they garner so much attention, millions of people following them.
But then you
and that
say,
would hurt the media.
But then you say that. But then some fans like to engage with footballers, decent fans, and they like to talk to. Look at the good stuff Marcus Rashford doing, and how many tweets and that he sends out and stuff like that, and Instagram stuff. Why should they stop going on there because of the colour of their skin? Well, then if you're going to tell them to stop, everyone should come off it. Then every individual should come off it. It shouldn't be because you're a black footballer, a young black footballer, or a black person in the media that you should be able to, or a black person of any whatever you do in life, that you should be able to come off social media because you're getting racially abused. No, I'm sick and tired of it. I have had enough of it. I knew for a fact when I came onto the show today, we have to talk about it because we have to identify it. And I knew that I'd come on here and get frustrated, and I always get frustrated because there's something close to my heart. Like, as I knew I should have been saying something about about it 10, 12 years ago, but I didn't. But now I respect these people like Marcus Rashford and Raheem Sterling because they've made others come out, and now no one ain't afraid to speak about it now. And that's what I should have done then, and that's why I'm angry with myself, because I know before years ago I should have come out and said much more, but I didn't think I'd be heard. But now everyone is starting to hear, but there's too much baby steps. We need to take bigger steps, because every time something like this happening, we have to keep talking about it, and it's not good. It's not good.
Victim shaming is never the answer. It should not be incumbent on black men to come off social media because they're receiving racist abuse. The onus should be on the organisations to get their house in order. I think we often talk about education. I think there's a real misconception around that. Because, as we saw, a 49-year-old man was arrested in connection with the abuse sent towards Romain Sawyers. These are grown men. These are people who are educated. I think that the answer is action. We've done a lot of talking for a number of years, and it's got us nowhere. That's why I say take the action, get the legal support, create the legal framework to be able to punish people. And it might be harsh, and it might be in some cases that it's a sledgehammer to crack a nut. I think unless we do that, we are going to go around in circles. And I would never in a million years suggest that black footballers should come off social media. They should stay on, they should be proud to represent themselves and continue doing the work that they're doing and continue just existing, because this is our life. To exist, we have to put up with that kind of thing. And I think every time I hear people saying it's unacceptable, every time I hear people saying there's no place for it, they're all truisms. We should not have to keep justifying our existence day after day, week after week. And that's the reason why the onus should be on the social media companies to get their houses in order. But if they can't, then the footballers must take action, and we have to support the action in any way we can. And
Darren, they only have a goal when they have a bad game. And that's the only time they have a go at these footballers. They don't have a go at these footballers when they're doing good work for the charities and stuff like that. I don't see them writing remarks like that. But if Marcus Rashford didn't have a good game against Arsenal, he comes off at the end of it, looks on it, and he's getting racially abused. Twanzebe, Romain Sawyers, racially abused. Reece James, racially abused. The list goes on and on, Vicky. And there's probably more footballers that get racially abused. They just don't entertain it and don't come out and speak about it. I can guarantee you that 100%. It's not right. All a lot of people see is the negative stuff. They don't ever see the positive stuff that they're doing as well.
See, I think
I just want to ask you, how hurtful is it? Because I know you've sat there before and say, sometimes I don't listen to it, blah, 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 blah. How hurtful?
It's hurtful. It's hurtful. A person like Marcus, anybody getting racially abused, and then Marcus Rashford for what he's done and the things he's done. And I think Darren makes a good point. The only reason why people are taking up notice now is because of what Marcus Rashford's done when he's fought the government and stuff like that for the children and stuff like that with the meals and stuff like that. That's why people are taking notice. When people like Romain Sawyers and Reece James and that, Martial, Twanzebe, yeah, they did have a little look back, but when it's Marcus Rashford, people take a big look at it. It's hurtful. It's not good. I want to come on here and talk about football. I don't want to come on here and talk about racism, how black people are being racist. It's not good. It ain't good. And it's been going on for many years. And it's going to continue to go on for many years. And I've said it numerous times. I've got kids. I don't want my kids to be brought up like that and be getting racially abused. It's not good. I'm trying to teach them what's right from wrong. So it's not good. We're all one. So why should it be because I'm a black person, you feel like you can racially abuse me? It's not good. And I'm a person, I'll have a laugh and a joke with anyone, but this subject, it hurts me. I look on these social medias and I see it all the time. It is not right. So I'm going to keep talking about it. As long as I have a platform to talk about it, I'm going to come on here and I'll keep talking about it. If we could talk about it for the whole show, I would talk about it for the whole show. And I'll keep talking until someone says to me, I don't want to hear you no more, Claire. And I'll still carry on talking. I'll talk to myself if I have to, but I will keep on talking until some things are done about it, because it's not good. You should not be getting racially abused for having a bad football match. No chance. Tell me I'm a bad footballer, that I played bad. Don't tell me I'm bad because of the colour of my skin and then tell me I'm racially abused me. It's not right. It's not right. And it's not right. It hurts me.
Totally agree. Listen, I can see the emotion and hear the emotion in Clinton's voice. And, I remember talking to Michael Richards for his documentary.
Yeah.
And I made a very similar point. People say, why are you always talking about racism? This is why. Because to exist is to deal with all of this on a daily basis. to have to justify your existence. And when you address it, people say you are always talking about racism. But when you have children, and when you want to change things for your children, and when you want to actually ensure lasting change rather than just keep talking around it. And we saw Les Ferdinand earlier this season say, are we going to just keep taking a knee, or are we going to actually do something? Are we going to keep having panels and working groups and what, or are we going to do something? And I think the time has come to do something. So I don't want to hear reasons why things might not work. Let's just do something. Let's put the pressure on the people who are causing us to have to justify our existence day after day, week after week. The clubs are waking up to it now, because before they would put out the standard, racism has no place in our game, etc., etc. It's almost like a template. Now they're realizing just how deeply it's affecting their players. Not just high-profile players as well. We must remember the lower-profile players, the players in the Championship and non-league who are going through this. It doesn't become a story just because it's someone as celebrated as Marcus Rashford. It should be an issue for every black man in football, outside of football, the women who are watching the game, who are outside of the game, who are getting it as well, who are appealing to these social media companies who do not see them, Vicky. That's the problem. They don't see them until someone with 7.5 million followers gets in touch and threatens to shame them in the eyes of the government and the media and all of the people who really can hold them to account. That's what we've got to do, not just talk about it, because talking has got us nowhere over a long period of time.
Gentlemen, thank you for that discussion this morning. Look, at Sky Sports, we are committed to making our website and social media platforms a place for comment and debate that is free of abuse, hate and profanity. If you see a reply to Sky Sports posts and or to content with an expression of hate on the basis of race, colour, gender, nationality, ethnicity, disability, religion, sexuality, age, sex or class, please copy the URL to the hateful post or screen grab it and email us at againstonlinehate@skysports.com.